What were some times when you died inside? I crochet and my old boss at work asked me for a scarf. He requested lilac, which I thought was odd, but he was super insistent and even sent me a color chart pointing out the exact shade he wanted. I bought the yarn and made him a scarf, but then ran into him and mentioned the scarf again, and he started cracking up saying he was joking. Definitely embarrassing, but I'm glad I didn't actually bring it with me and give him the scarf, only to find out he was being an asshole. I wound up giving it to another coworker who was watching the whole thing play out, and she was super appreciative. My first serious real relationship, living with the girl and all that. She was basically a tar at the time, and told me about this guy in her class that she thought I'd get along with well. He's just like you. I meet the guy and sure enough we were eerily alike. Then she calls me at work one day, says she's working on a paper, and asks me some odd questions about STDs. Her questions were strange, and I didn't understand why this paper was so urgent that she felt she needed to call me at work. I got home, looked through her phone, and found where they'd been sleeping together. That shit hurt. 6th grade all-day field trip to SeaWorld Orlando. Surprise period through my white shorts. All the moms who wanted to help only had tampons. I was 11 and had no idea how to use them. There ensued an embarrassing crash course. I was devastated until random dad saved the day by giving me his windbreaker to tie around my waist and told me to go have fun. Thanks random field trip dad, you saved the day. When I was about 13, my dad took me aside one night and apologized for putting so much effort into supporting my twin brother and so little into supporting me. I always assumed he was just smarter / physically more gifted. Turns out he and my mother had actively and knowingly neglected me in order to encourage my brother's achievements. Happened all through my schooling. They paid thousands for his sporting trips, and when I had the same opportunities they just didn't have the money. Still kills me inside now. Once created a painting for a friend, hung it up on the door to my apartment as a surprise. It was easily bypassed. He asked, "What's with people around here? You let people put shitty vacation ads on your door." Never again. *FO are those asking, I live in West Virginia. It was a painting of one of our favorite spots we would seek when hiking. *THIS happened in Morgantown and it's called Blue Hole. Not really sure of the actual name of the river. He showed me the place. Lots of people go swimming there, but he knew a secret spot. It was a view from the exit of the trees of our favorite area. Honestly, a lot of people had things like that in Morgantown and around the state, which is why I think he easily overlooked it. I did not tell him at that time. I was so embarrassed I was glad he didn't figure it out. Eventually I did tell him, when we were drunk. Yay liquid courage, and I could see everything click in his head. He was sorry, but we've gotten past it. I went to an interview once where one of the two people interviewing me asked if I knew French. I said I knew core French, so they decided to conduct the interview completely in French. I can understand when someone speaks French to me. I can read and write fluently in French, but I can't for the life of me speak French. It was so bad that one of the interviewers got up and left halfway through and didn't come back. Needless to say, I didn't get the job. When my mother told me on my wedding day not to lose this man because no one could ever love me. Same day telling me in my wedding dress not to gain any more weight because if I have a baby I'd basically be fat forever. When I was 14 and super sick one summer I couldn't eat. Was down below 100 lbs. My mom told me I should go put a bikini on so she could take photos because I'd never be that skinny again. I had just fainted a couple hours earlier because I hadn't been able to eat. She just used all her own insecurities all over me my whole life. My husband and I have been married almost 16 years. He has spent our entire marriage undoing all of the damage she has done. He's a saint. One night after going to a concert with one of my friends and I dropped him off at his house, as he was getting out of the car, he started looking for something. When I asked him what he was looking for, he said, "I think I lost my weed." He had about a half an eighth left in a baggie and gave up after looking around a bit, concluding he lost it at the show. Cut to 10 minutes later, and I, on the way home, got pulled over for not coming to a full stop at a stop sign. As the cop approached the car, the thought of my friend's lost bag crossed my mind. The cop went through the usual routine, asked for my license and registration, asked where I been that evening, have I had anything to drink, is there anything in the car he needed to know about. I answered everything flawlessly, but then as he's standing there, I see something catch his eye as he's looking in, and he shined a flashlight inside on it, and asked, "What's that?" I died inside, when I looked over and saw, perfectly framed in the spotlight, my friend's bag of weed on the passenger side floor. How he didn't find it while looking around I'll never understand. Somehow, I was able to articulate my case, that it wasn't my weed, but my dumbass friend's well enough, that he took pity on me, and just confiscated it, and let me off with a warning for that, plus a $70 ticket for the stop sign. I've told this story before, but there was a time when I knew I was coming down with what I was sure was going to be an absolute bastard of a cold. Already beginning to feel a little fuzzy in the brain, I decided to make myself some chicken soup in advance to get me through the worst of it. I chopped some carrots, chopped some onions, threw in a chicken carcass, and over the course of about 4 hours made the most bomb-ass stock you could imagine. Then my dumbass poured it through a colander directly into the sink. It took me a good 30 seconds before I realized what I'd done. Then I just sat on the kitchen floor for about 10 minutes, gazing at the opposite wall and wishing real life had a CTRL-Z function. I go back and forth between my mom's and dad's house, court ordered, and I have 4 years. I switch houses every Sunday at about 7 p.m. I was playing in the yard with my dog, waiting for her to get there, and when she did, we drove home. I had just gotten out of the car and walked inside of my mom's house when she got a call. She handed me the phone, and apparently, seconds after we drove away my dog had a heart attack and died. They rushed him to the vet, but they couldn't save him. I never got to say goodbye. So my nephew is called Dominic. I have a bunch of nicknames for him like Dom, Dommy, Domatron, Domis's Dominatrix. Yeah, no one for ages told me what it meant, until my husband explained it to me when I was talking about him. Like I use that name in front of people no one told me. I feel so stupid now as like dear it's obvious. Thanks for the love in the crack up stories. I feel less of an idiot. For those who are asking to explain what it means. Chans whips women dominator pretty much an SFW. Setting, junior high. Status, awkward preteen. Style, liked cats, very shy. Walked out of the school bathroom. Noticed after a bit that the popular girl in school was watching me, giving me a strange look. She then approached me and wordlessly pulled my skirt out of my underwear that I'd just tidily tucked in with the rest of my uniform. Then just walked away to avoid my shame, as I'd just been walking around with my panties showing. Once bought a bottle of Pepsi in a meal deal, but didn't have space to put it in my bag. In my infinite wisdom, I decided to pour the contents into my reusable water bottle, so I wouldn't have to carry both bottles. It was one of them bottles that has a straw in it, and you flip the top up when you want a drink. Opened it in a little hardware store later in the day and the gas had built up in the bottle, and it spurted out like a water gun all over the wall and ceiling. I was so embarrassed and tried my best to clean it up for them, but all the staff could do was laugh. One of them told me I was stood in the perfect spot for the CCTV to pick it up, and he would be watching it back later. I was 15. Someone was taking a photo of my girlfriend at the time and she goes, "Make sure you don't smile. You're ugly when you smile, you look much better when you're serious. Don't want you ruining another photo." It was not a joke. That killed me so hard. I'm 34, and I still struggle to smile in front of people. When our beloved cat developed a cancerous tumor and had to be put to sleep, the vet asked if I'd like to hold him as he was euthanized. Foolishly, I said that I would, wanting to be with him until the last second of his life, not realizing the emotional impact it would have. I know it sounds overly sentimental, but it felt as though part of me died with him that moment. Even as I type this, I'm reliving it. 5th grade spelling bee. I made it to the school-wide level, which was the 3rd round in. First I had to beat my own class, then beat the other 5th grade classes, and next was the whole school. My first word was biscuit. Easy. My second word was soccer. Also easy. Except for the fact that I was a bit nervous being up on stage, with the whole school in attendance, including my mom who was there for support. It got in my head a little bit. I heard soccer and thought, okay, this is easy. Remember, there are 2 C's in soccer. 2 C's. 2 C's. Step up to the MICROPHONE asterisk. C. O. Instantly knew what I did. Asterisk FACEPALMED myself in front of EVERYONE asterisk. Dead inside. Despite this realization, and the fact I had already lost, my brain kept the letters mixed up, and I spelled the rest of the word. SSER. Cosa. Any Cosa fans here? Or, as you may call it in your country, Budful? Picking up the body of our 3-year-old cat after a hit and run. I rescued him at a few hours old after his mother ejected him and attacked him. We bottle fed, replaced his hot water bottle and pooped him, don't ask, every 2 hours, including through the night, 4 weeks. Against all the odds, he survived to be the most loving and affectionate cat I've ever known. He was so obsessed with us, because we were effectively his mummy, and he was never weaned. And that morning I got the call he'd been killed by a car. I tried to pick him up, but his lifeless body was so floppy and heavy, but familiarly warm. I thought I would drop him. I will never forget that feeling. Also, all the while knowing I was going to have to tell my husband and our 2 small children. I received a set of boxes in the mail with no return address on a Monday morning. When I opened the boxes I started noticing stuff that is my mom's, her handwriting on notes. This seems to be some sort of care package from my mom. Was in college at the time. As I opened more, there were all these documents. I was confused. Then I found the note. My mom committed suicide, but planned it all out. She sent me a list of things to take care of now that she's gone. Now I hate getting packages. I've told this story before, but when I was 8 years old we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break I decided to wander off to the gift shop and see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring on sale for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs, and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop, so I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous, but I finally found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her, and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely fucked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too, giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way, but whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassed I have been in my life. I lent my savings to my father, who spent them on fuck knows what. I had to accept that he can't face telling you as a fair answer, so never truly got closure, and lied to me about it for a year. My boyfriend killed himself after 5 years of what felt like a loving relationship. Then I discovered he'd been cheating on me with an objectively disgusting person. When I realized I'd chosen the wrong degree again, and was either going to be stuck in a career which didn't suit me at all, finance, or had to start again, yet again. When I was around 10 years old, growing up in the country, our Rhodesian Ridgeback had several puppies. She had no idea how to care for her babies, and laid on them, deforming their little bodies and heads. My dad said they needed to be put down, and made me put them in a gunny sack, drown them in the horse trough, then bury them. That was the most traumatic thing I had to do as a child. Fuck you, Dad. I would never make a child do something so horrifying. I definitely died a little inside that day. I found a resident at my work, CNA, crying, and when asked what was wrong he responded, "I have baby brains." For some context, I work at a traumatic brain injury center. For these types of people, this is a permanent home. And coming from someone who is usually caught in a 3-sentence loop, the self-realization was something I didn't think he was capable of. Phil Spedman. JPEG. When I went to the pool with my family, my aunt forgot my cousin's activity access card. Basically, in our town you get this one kind of vid card, where it allows you to get books at the library, prove you live in the town, and in this case, go to the pool for free all summer. Otherwise you pay $10, and she's usually the chillest person ever. I assume she's gonna pay it, and so take my 10 years old cousin towards the female side of the changing rooms. Hey, you are not going anywhere, insert cousin name here / until I fix this with this bitch. I turn around. My aunt starts yelling Karen style at this poor summer worker that must be about 14 that she always comes to this pool and it's unacceptable to make her pay when they always have the card. My cousin had to stay and watch through the gates because she couldn't go in, and my aunt just took the car and left. I paid so she could come in with us instead of it now, crying her eyes out cause her mom can't be damned to pay $10. She came back huffing with the card and nearly threw it at the employee before even realizing her daughter wasn't in front of but into the pool. She didn't even look for her. I wanted to die. When we were about 18, my friend told me that his mom had just been caught cheating on his dad and how it was going to tear the family apart. I remember him even saying, I hate my mom for this. She's just a fucking slut. Later that evening a few of us went for a drink. I arrived late and got some drinks in. As I sat down, the same lad was telling the group I hate her. She's just a fucking slut. So I said, oh, I see you've told them about your mom then. It's so bad that she could do that to your dad. He was talking to them about some girl we know. But now everyone realized I had slipped up about something big, and he ended up having to tell everyone. When my cousin, almost brother, died from a weird disease, and all our family members who'd watched us grow up together and be inseparable would look at me with pity and silent compassion, it just made me feel worse every time. They still do it every now and then, even though tomorrow will be 3 years since he passed, and it still makes me feel awful. I asked a blind man if he wanted to play darts with me. It was summer, and we were in a resort and obviously everybody was wearing sunglasses. I couldn't take a no for an answer, so I think I asked him at least 5 times before he finally said, mate, I'm blind.